you're quite passionate about climate change. I think it's a funny situation, isn't it? Because I remember, who was it? One of our journalists, who was it? Can't remember who it was, but one of the Australian journalists, middle-aged, kind of like, he was probably like 50-odd years old, and he was talking to one of the protesters outside the climate rallies 2 months ago or whatever. And all he was doing was taking the piss out of the climate activists. He's like, oh, you didn't need to work today, did you, mate? Or what are you doing? You got nothing better to do? And he's like, oh, no, the activist was like, oh, I'm sorry, I just don't think there's anything more important. I have a job. He's like, oh, yeah, what do you think? Why do you think you can go and ruin people's days? Look at these people over here. There's traffic jams up here. These poor people can't get to work. And the climate activist was like, yeah, but with all due respect, sir, who was it? Fuck. And anyway, he's like, with all due respect, sir, like, there's bigger problems than people getting to work. And it's funny because I think people will get fired up. Like my uncle was posting in a family Facebook group about climate change, and he's very right-wing. Climate change is this, that, and one of the things he was talking about, I had to stay quiet in the group because I just would have turned into a shit show. Was, all these young kids. This is the narrative I keep hearing. All these young kids, they're coming to us with protests, but they're not coming to us with answers. I was like, it's not their fucking job to come up with the answers. It's their job to make the noise and say, hey, you guys fucking start coming up with the answers. And there's a funny thing, so just to finish up, I want to get your thoughts. But so I've got a group of mates, another Facebook group, my buddies, and they're really conspiratorial, and they're all pretty right-leaning, in especially when it comes to climate change, especially one of them. And they're my mates, so that's cool. But, yeah, forget my point. But there's a book over here, because everyone's kind of climate change this, climate change that. There's a book on my bookshelf called The Sixth Extinction, and it's about the 6 extinction level events for the flora and fauna of Earth. And this is over 4 billion years since the start of Earth, start of the planet. So, and it traces back. It's like, I forget all the titles of the eras, but it's like, the Triassic and the Jurassic and the fucking whatever. And there's 5 of them. And then there's the 6th one, and it's like asteroid, volcanoes, asteroid, human beings. We're in the absolute midst. And this is not the climate warms, this is the climate naturally warms, or there's a narrative getting pushed by the left, blah, blah. This is statistical data that shows that our impact because it's judged on like the flora and fauna of the planet over the course of like 50 years. It's not like a 2-year thing. That's like the sample size or whatever, and whatever it categorizes, like 30% of the world's flora and fauna will die in the 50 years total. And we're in the middle of that, the 6th version, and it's purely brought upon by us. And it's just like, I also get quite frustrated by it. And I think I'm going on a bit of a rant now, but I think I've just got in the back of my mind, I'm wondering whether, I think there's a rise in mental health issues, anxiety and depression and so forth. And I think part of that is more reporting, because this day and age it's okay to tell someone about it. So I think that is a genuine part of it. Yeah. But I think 2 other parts that I think have the biggest impact is social media, and the other one is, and I'm just really getting my head around this idea, but I really think that a lot of people are fucking unhappy subconsciously because they know that if the news is telling you we're past the point of no return, we're fucking it for the next generations, we got 50 years till it's fucked, that's subconsciously not going to make people happy.
No, there's a bit of territory there, but I think that's right. I think there's a part of the denialism comes from a can't bear to concede that this is actually happening, because what are the shocking ramifications of that? In terms of, saying to the protesters, all you do is complain about it, what are your solutions? Well, this is what annoys me about the blowback towards Greta Thunberg. Who, you've got to step back from the issues for a moment. You've got a 16-year-old autistic girl who is basically being harassed and bullied by middle-aged adults. What? Since when has that been okay? But it's the nature of the blowback against her is, she's not proposing any solutions. She's just saying we've got to stop killing the planet. Well, first, That's a pretty decent message, is it? Yeah. But secondly, exactly what you said before, and this is where my sort of philosophy too. I don't know any solutions, but the scientists have been telling us this shit for 30 years. We now have something like, it's actually higher than 97%. I'm told now the scientific consensus on man-made climate change is now 99% of informed career scientists who do this stuff. It's their bread and butter. They are telling us, and have been for some time, that we have to stop relying on fossil fuels. We have to seek renewable energy sources. We have to, reduce our consumption of certain foods and eat less meat. Stuff like
animal
that.
agriculture.
Well, I mean, some of the solutions are quite dramatic, but we're being told this by science, and there's absolute acceptance of that in the scientific world. Why are people so scared of accepting that?
Yeah.
These are the same people who would never question science when it comes to...
religion.
Medicine.
Medicine,
except anti-vaxxers, but they're a tiny, tiny minority. I mean, we're told penicillin is good for you, it'll make you better. Okay, I take it. No one questions that.
Yeah.
No one questions the... however long we've known now that the world is round and not flat. No one questions that. Because that was a theory or a truism that was arrived at by scientific consensus. Why this one? Well, a number of reasons. There are greater economic ramifications out of this, but also I think that thing of disbelief. It's sort of like the scale is too big. The implications are too dramatic. The people sort of can't. How do I deal with it? Well, I'm going to shut my eyes and close my ears and go la 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 la.
Well,
and hope it goes away.
The first step isn't the first step of what is it? What's the continuum of the 7 or 8 or whatever steps of like accepting something? The first stage is denial. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you mean like Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yeah.
I don't know. Fortunately, I'm not a pisshead, so I've never had to know what those steps.
Who cares? But back to but back to Greta Thunberg, or however you pronounce the second name, because I actually don't know.
I think it's Thunberg.
Thunberg,
Thunberg.
Yeah. I saw her interviewed on it was like Alan or Oprah or something like that.
Yeah.
And she said, you're really doing a great thing, and blah, blah, blah. How's it been? We've seen you been in America trying to inform people of your thoughts on the whole matter, and you've been over to Australia and so on and so forth. What is the how is it different in Europe? What is the vibe in Europe in terms of climate change? And she's like, it's very different. She's like, no one debates it in Europe because we believe in science. Like, that's what she said to Oprah, and it was just like, I fucking remember seeing it, and I was like, oh my God. Like, you could not have said that anymore perfectly.
I'm going to say something here that will probably, I don't know, I mean, I could be run out of the country, but I mean, I was in Europe recently for close to a month. Straight after the end of this footy season, I went to Europe. We went to Crete and Croatia.
Crete's great.
I've been to Crete. Yeah, beautiful. I love Germany as well. But I've done the Europe thing a few times now, and every time I do it now, I end up thinking they are so much more adult than us. There's a sort of sophistication about their thinking. You don't ever see, well, I didn't anyway, in Europe, you don't ever sort of come across bogans. There's sort of no equivalent. Everyone appears sort of informed about things. There's a maturity about, the fact that, people talk about the nanny state here, but, the fact that there's no question about taking a drink out of a bar there because people know no one's going to carry on like a fuckwit. Whereas here, someone takes a drink out, they smash the glass. And there's a real sort of, I don't know, is it lack of sophistication or is it immaturity or what about this country? And, it can be funny and it can be irreverent and whatever, but I think in a philosophical sense, it's starting to cost us because issues like this we refuse to take seriously. And, we talk about our rebelliousness and stuff as a country, but in a way, I think we're quite conformist. We had the chance to become a republic in 1999, and we turned our backs on it because for some reason, some people didn't want to cut ties with the mother country. our flag, I mean, I know it's symbolic, but I'm big on this. Our flag has another fucking country's flag on it. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's funny,
like so how can you say we're rebellious and independent and you know, sort of feisty and whatever when we won't stand on our own 2 feet? We won't think about these issues. You know, and that depresses me, frankly. And look, people go to Europe and come back and say stuff like this, and everyone, the natural reaction is to go, "Oh, you wanker." Well, if you don't like it, piss off.
Yeah.
You know what? I might end up doing that because there are certain things about this country, the way it's sort of gone as a nation, which I find profoundly depressing. And look, I love footy. I'm going to be hard to find footy somewhere else in the world, but I might just get to a point where I think that's a sacrifice I'm prepared to make.
Well, my dad's cousin was the president of the Milwaukee Bombers. So I was going to go over there and coach one at one point. Was one of my ideas.